Here's your First Warned Weather forecast first, sponsored by Anderson Collision Center. Visit driveanderson.com.
Well, it has been a beautiful start to the month of March as temperatures today made it into the mid-50s, well above that average high of 39. We're currently at 53 in Rockford, Freeport, Rochelle, DeKalb, 54 now in Belvedere, and 51 in Monroe. While we've had lots of sunshine out there this afternoon, we are going to gradually see that cloud cover begin to work in over the next several hours. Low pressure passing to the north will pull a cold front through here later this evening. All that's going to do for us, bring back a little more cloud cover and shift our wind around to the northeast. So temperatures will drop for the day tomorrow. Mostly clear skies here as we go through this evening. Cloud cover increases, temperatures in the low 30s. While it may have felt like spring the last couple of days, we could soon get another taste of winter weather later this week. Timing that out and a look at where the snow could fly coming up in the First Warned forecast a little later.
Live from WTVO Rockford and your home team. Eyewitness News at 5 starts now.
Police arrest a suspect in a Rochelle murder last September. A 28-year-old woman was found dead in an apartment fire.
Investigators released pictures of a pair of suspects in a carjacking and shooting. It happened last May at a Rockford park.
And volunteers pitch in at a local food bank. They're preparing for an increase in need in the weeks ahead. Good evening, I'm Mimi Murphy.
And I'm Eric Wilson.
Last September, a Rochelle mom was found dead in her home after a fire. Police called her death suspicious.
Today, they say they've made an arrest in the case. Gary Freeman is charged with first-degree murder, residential arson, and concealment of a homicidal death. He's being held on a $10 million bond. Nikel Delgado was in Rochelle. Nikel, what can you tell us about the case?
Eric, Mimi, the Ogle County State's Attorney tells me this fire was not an accident. He called it cold and calculated.
Fire personnel noted that the fire was of a suspicious nature, and they also located a deceased female.
On September 18th, 28-year-old Devin Gibbons was found dead inside her Rochelle apartment. An apartment the fire department says was then set on fire. Court documents show Gibbons had been stabbed to death.
I believe the facts are going to indicate that there was some type of relationship, and certainly violence was the end result.
During the investigation, police started looking into Gary Freeman because he had a court case open with Gibbons. The Chicago suburbs man was then arrested Tuesday in Schaumburg. He's charged with first-degree murder, arson, and concealment of a homicidal death.
That this was in a cold and calculating way, so we are, by the very nature of what we've charged him with at this point, we believe that there was premeditation and a plan involved when he came to Rochelle.
Rochelle's police chief tells me he's thankful to have had the help of other agencies during the investigation.
Fortunately, in Rochelle, we do not have many crimes of this magnitude. So when they do happen, it can be a burden on smaller agencies. So we're immensely appreciative of all of the law enforcement and other entities that came together to help us bring this case to a resolution.
Is going to do everything we can to bring justice for Devin Gibbons and her family.
Freeman was in court this afternoon. He pled not guilty. He's due back in court in April. Mimi?
All right, thanks, Nikel. Rockford police need your help finding the suspects behind a shooting and carjacking at a local park last year. The incident happened last May at Black Hawk Park. Police released pictures of two women who may be involved. They may go by the names of Mia and Jasmine. Investigators say the pair shot a victim, then took their car. If you have any information, call Rockford Park District Police or Rockford Area Crime Stoppers.
A busy State Line Road was shut down after an afternoon rollover crash. Crews were called to bypass 20 just south of Montague Road around 1:30. Here is a look at the car. The front end has heavy damage. The car's on its roof. An ambulance was on the scene. No word on any injuries. Both lanes of traffic were affected by the crash. We also don't have any information about what caused that crash.
The Consolidated election is just over a month away, and now the final field of candidates is set. The 2023 Consolidated primary was held yesterday. There were only 2 races across the state line. Eyewitness News is your local election headquarters. Voters registered in Ward 2 in Belvedere picked Daniel Snow for city council. He was running against Ronald Chilson. Both are Republican. Snow took nearly 63% of the votes. There are no Democratic candidates running for the position in April. And in Freeport, voters in Ward 3 had 2 Democrats on their ballot for city council, Kathleen Wilkin and Rachel Simmons. But it was Simmons' night. She took home nearly 58% of the vote.
Caterpillar and the UAW reach a tentative 6-year contract agreement. Union workers in 2 states threatened to strike. The roughly 7,000 employees work at 3 plants in Illinois and a facility in Pennsylvania. Members will now review the deal and vote at upcoming ratification meetings. Workers voted nearly unanimously to okay a strike back in January.
The state awards more than $60 million to local parks across Illinois. Here in the state line, we received just over $1.7 million. Davis Junction, New Milford, and McChesney Park will benefit. The grants will be used to acquire land and develop recreation areas. Local State Representative Maurice West says the investment can help tackle bigger issues like crime.
Flank these issues is beautify our communities, allow our young people to see that the stakeholders take value in the places that they reside. That will cause them to now see and have a value system within themselves and how they're going to operate.
In all, 118 parks will benefit across the state.
Food benefits shrink for more than 40 million Americans, including many here in Illinois. Congress passed a temporary boost to SNAP benefits in 2020 when millions of people lost their jobs during the COVID pandemic. That extra aid was intended to expire when the pandemic ended. That will likely be declared in May. Starting today, it's estimated every SNAP household will see at least $95 a month less. Some reductions will be closer to $250. The loss of benefits turns up the pressure on state-line food pantries. This week we showed you how the Rock River Valley Pantry is preparing. Today, local volunteers helped out at the Northern Illinois Food Bank's Winnebago Community Market. That's just off Kishwaukee Street, north of the Rockford Airport. About a dozen faith leaders from the area were packing food boxes. More help is needed too. Compared to this point last year, 25% more people are getting food from a food bank.
With rising inflation and gas prices, food prices, and now the emergency SNAP allocation falling off this month, the need in Rockford was high before, and now it's going to be even higher. This year, we're serving around 55,000 individuals every month here in Winnebago County, as compared to last year, around 44,000 individuals.
Also last year, Northern Illinois Food Bank provided 8.8 million meals in Winnebago County. Diabetes patients learn life-giving medicine will soon be more affordable.
Lawmakers have been pressuring drug companies to cut costs. Hannah Brandt tells us more about Pfizer's response with insulin prices.
Drug maker Eli Lilly's plans to cap the price of their insulin at $35 is generating a lot of buzz.
I'm really excited about it.
Senator Tim Kaine says it's a smart play by the drug maker.
Wayne Gretzky says, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where the puck's going. And Eli Lilly has decided they're going to skate to where the puck's going.
Last year, Congress tried and failed to pass a law limiting insulin costs, but they did pass a provision to cap the price of insulin for seniors on Medicare. The White House says Eli Lilly's announcement came because of the pressure on drug manufacturers.
We were able to stand up to Big Pharma and achieve lower costs for the American people through legislation that Congress passed this year. Today's action is really building on that momentum.
Even with this move from Eli Lilly, some lawmakers say there's more for Congress to do to lower insulin costs.
We ought to cap it right now for everybody, not just one insurance company, not just one pharma company, but for all of them.
Republican Senator Josh Hawley says this announcement shows just how important it is for Congress to keep trying to pass a cap.
They could have done this years ago. They didn't do it because they weren't forced to do it, because they liked making all of those profits off of the backs of people who are desperate for insulin and have to have it literally in order to live.
And Senate Leader Chuck Schumer agrees Congress still needs to act.
While I hope other manufacturers follow suit, there's no substitute for locking this down as mandatory and permanent for all Americans.
In Washington, I'm Hannah Brandt.
Now, your first warned weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Candace King.
I'll tell you what, it was a nice way to start the beginning of meteorological spring this afternoon as temperatures under plenty of sunshine made it into the low to mid 50s. 56 degrees our high temperature, 34 our average high. But don't get too used to that because our numbers unfortunately are going to trend downward here by the time we get into the end of the week. A little breeze kicking in from the west. You see the flag kind of whipping around. We take a live look with our SkyTrack camera now out at the Park Hills Golf Course in Freeport. Lots of blue sky out there. Temperatures still in the 50s at 52 in Freeport, 53 in Rockford, Belvedere, 52 in Rochelle and DeKalb. Our weather watcher Terry here checking in with 55 degrees. Winds from the west at about 14 miles per hour. We've got a clear sky through this evening, so no issues there. There is a weak cold front that'll pass through later tonight. All that'll do is bring us a little more cloud cover and turn our winds back around to the northeast for tomorrow. So tomorrow will feel colder, about 10 degrees colder than where we set here for this afternoon. But it is the beginning of meteorological spring. Doesn't really mean much, just for record keeping for us. Of course, astronomical spring begins in the next couple of weeks, and we kind of revert back to some colder temperatures looking in towards the end of the week and even getting in beyond. But March, actually, we get a pretty big temperature jump for our average highs from the beginning to the end of the month. You can still average almost 5 inches of snow during the month of March. April, too, even just under an inch. And then, of course, by the time we get into May, those average high temperatures warming quickly through those 70s. Now, with the warmer weather, might have you thinking more spring-like weather. We've got our storm spotter training classes that have been ongoing with the National Weather Service. A couple of those have wrapped up over the last couple of weeks. Here are some upcoming ones. Next one, next Monday, March 6th. This is out in Joe Daviess County in Hanover. Thursday, March 16th, down in Dixon at Sauk Valley Community College there on 173 Illinois 2 from 6:30 to 8:30. Again, that's March 16th. And Monday, March 20th for those in Stevenson County, we've got our Highland Community College Storm Spotter Training class. This is free to the public, open for anyone to attend. So if you are thinking about maybe becoming a storm spotter with the National Weather Service, a good place to start with that. It takes about 2 hours and you learn everything you need to know. Now, it's not severe weather we're talking about later this week, but rather the return of winter weather. That comes in by the time we get into Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Notice with that cold front coming in, our cloud cover will increase tonight. Winds will turn to the northeast during the day tomorrow. We'll stay dry, but we deal with more cloud cover. Temperatures in the lower 40s, a little breezy out there. We've got our next system that'll be passing through during the day on Friday. The storm track has kind of shifted a little more to the south with this over the last 12 to 18 hours, but with that still takes it from parts of Arkansas through St. Louis and then into northern Indiana. So it is still possible that we could see some accumulating snowfall with the highest impact area sitting over southeast Wisconsin, parts of northern Illinois. And if we were to see that snow, likely will cause some issues going into the afternoon and evening commute on Friday. So still one to watch here as we get into that time, but our temperatures going into the weekend will warm back into the 40s. 36 on Friday afternoon. Wind is going to pick up too, so winds will be gusty from the northeast. I think we make it back near 50 by next Monday, but our temperatures will be trending downward once we get towards the middle to end of next week.
Now sports with sports director Scott Leber.
Two Nick 10 boys basketball teams are left in this postseason, and they'll both take the court tonight. Auburn will play at the Class 4A Jefferson Sectional against Hampshire, and Boylan will play at the 3A Burlington Central Sectional against the host team Burlington Central. Boylan coach Brett McAllister says his Titans will need their A game against the Rockets and their big man Andrew Chernosky.
So they got 6'7" in the paint. I believe he's going to Belmont to play. Plays, highly skilled, so not, your typical post player. He'll lead the break for them, and he will post up some, but can shoot it. So almost like a 6'7" guard.
Also tonight in Class 2A at Johnsburg, the Lutheran Crusaders will play Montini. In Class 1A at Eastland, South Beloit will play Scales Mound. At Boylan this afternoon, it was time for some celebrating. The student body gathered in the gymnasium to celebrate Natavia Wixon's state wrestling championship from this past weekend. Wixon won the 135-pound division, dominating it down in Bloomington. She went 11-5 wrestling against guys during the regular season and 8-0 wrestling against girls. Wixon is the first female wrestler from any Rockford school ever to win a state wrestling championship. and she appreciates the support from her school.
It just felt great seeing everyone cheering for me and supporting me, knowing that they were rooting for me, and it felt great to have that big support system from my school. Yeah.
You've made history as the first Rockford woman to win a state championship in the sport of wrestling. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I can't believe that I just made history.
Wixon is only a junior, so she will go after another title next year. The Ice Hogs had an early start to their day today in Toronto. They played a morning game against the Marlins. Arvid Soderblom was between the pipes. Dylan Securo must be a morning person because he got things started the right way with a breakaway and a goal, his 14th of the season. It had the Ice Hogs in front 1-0 in the first period. But the Marlies owned the second period. They scored 3 straight goals. Pontus Holmberg got that one. The Hogs fell behind 3-1. New Ice Hog Coltrane Wilson, just called up from Indy, had a memorable debut. He rifles in his first HL goal from deep late in the second period. The Hogs were still in it at that point, but they wound up losing 5-3. They'll remain on the road through the weekend. There's a very good chance the Bears were leaning toward taking Georgia defensive tackle Jalen Carter in the first round of the NFL draft. Well, that's probably no longer true. Carter turned himself in today on an arrest warrant in Georgia. A police investigation revealed he might have been racing a Georgia staff member in January, leading to a crash that killed the staff member and another Georgia football player. Police say Carter left the scene of the crash before they arrived. Carter's been charged with reckless driving and racing. He has released a statement claiming he expects to be fully exonerated of the charges. At sports, we'll be right back.
Tonight on News Nation, Norfolk Southern Railway is now offering extra days off for their union workers. Is this an attempt to prevent regulations? 2 union reps join us to give us their take. Leland Vitter is on balance tonight. For the first time in decades, a Chicago mayor loses re-election. Who knows Chicago better than former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich? He joins us to weigh in on this monumental political downfall. And the one and only Bill O'Reilly is here. All ahead on Cuomo.
Interactive radar on mystateline.com. Nice and clear for us tonight, although we are going to see a little more cloud cover begin to move in overnight. Temperatures will drop back into the low 30s. Tomorrow, we'll see a few more clouds than what we did today. Temperatures will be cooler, too, from the 50s down to about 42. We're keeping an eye on Friday. Still that potential for some accumulating snowfall, so keep an eye on that Friday afternoon and Friday evening. 40s and then cooler by next week.
All right, thanks, Candace. And thank you for spending time with us. Stay safe.